Pyre. What is the third ban, however? Because Gwen is a champion that has been banned all series long and might make her way into this game.
It's something that both Cube and Flandre know how to play and have experience with. Would not be surprised to see that one hit the ban table. Yes, it will.
Okay.
Now as we take a look at support priority, maybe a little bit more on the downside, but that
Wow.
Pantheon actually just getting fully through the draft. WE wanting to make sure that Varus and Azir are actually protected and making sure Tarzan gets now one of the most seemingly overpowered champions in the game.
This happened last time. Again, their very last series, JDG versus WE, game number 3. They give Sun the Pantheon, and they say, okay, we're going to go with a little bit of a different strategy. They end up almost winning that game. First 15 minutes looked good. JDG then end up kind of team fighting their way out of that one. We get back into this series. Strong solo laners here for Team WE. Yorick, post-nerfs, has taken a little bit of a hit in terms of priority, but still blind against some of the champions that are left. Could be really interesting. And Aurora was a hover that we were talking about in that last game that for Karis could be something that kind of opens up a little bit more of a laning lead for him.
Very interesting. He's going to be matched up by the Annie from Shanks. They're just looking for some of that team fight presence, of course, those big stuns, and that Sivir has been banned in the second phase in both games so far this series, so Hope's going to pick it up early now that the bot lane pool has been pinched a little bit further. I think right now, Alk, liking this first rotation better for AL than they did in game number 2.
You remember what happened. We had AL with an Annie and a Sivir on their team. That was a long game that they still ended up losing, but
yeah.
very convincing points in that game. Point and click here for AL. They have 2 stuns that are literally unmissable here for them. So in terms of the crowd control, in terms of the setup, I love this for AL. Now with Sivir, my question coming into this fight is she going to actually be allowed to do her thing? Because Aurora is going to make it very enticing for this team to walk forward and then drop an ultimate between the worlds. Senna as well, if this game does go long, suddenly runs into issues of, oh my god, am I actually going to be able to really out DPS a champion like Senna in a massive team fight?
Yeah, I mean, scaling right now for WE definitely looks like it can be there, especially with Taeyoon now locking in that Senna. We head into the second phase of bans. Flandre going to be the target here in the ban phase, and Bessa and Renekton both taken off the board. And we know that Flandre is a player that has the unique pocket picks and everything, but when he's forced to blind, maybe doesn't have the same knowledge as all the, the big meta picks that we often see from these players. Not going to have to do it this time, though, because he's into the Yorick.
Yay! Let's go. Really bad matchups taken away with the Mbessa and the Renekton. So I wonder what else Flandre is going to have access to, because
I think
you could go for a Jace, although the Jace matchup's a little bit more tough. Cho'Gath was something that we see very, very frequently. Just the ability to eat the Maiden makes it very difficult for Cube to actually ever operate in fights. I love the Maokai, though. I think it gives them a lot of control when it comes to playing around the map, especially when we talk about Pantheon and that ultimate, the global ability for him to impact lanes. Maokai allows you to do something very close to that, where you drop saplings on one side of the map and allow for Maokai to play in the other, so you can have some kind of control.
And still flexible, depending on what the bot lane for anyone's legend does look like. I do like the Cho'Gath here. I mean, even the Rupture onto some rather immobile backline carries like the Aurora and the Senna can be very impactful. So combining that with the inherent matchup that you have into the Yorick, you can also use the Vorpal Spike reset on your auto to make sure that Cage gets one-shot pretty quickly early in the laning phase too. So Flandre gonna hopefully have a good time on this pick as we see what Kael wants to lock here on B5, and could open up for Vampire to either take that Maokai or have a little bit more of a creative support pick. He's gonna Blitzcrank to round out our composition in game 3.
Okay, Kael showing off a little bit. This will mean that AL have a ton of pick in this composition. You can allow for the Blitzcrank to throw the hook. Honestly, the most perfect way I would actually want to see a lot of these fights start is just let Tarzan and Shanks throw down the ultimates, let them use their crowd control, and then you're landing things like the Rupture for free. Then you're landing things like the Blitzcrank hook without any kind of worry of a flash or any kind of dodge here from WE. The damage might be pretty slow from AL, but WE, they want to punch, and they want to be able to punch hard here. This mid-jungle has a lot of skirmishing. I don't know if it's necessarily going to be able to tangle with the 2v2 that AL are showing, but I mean, Aurora passive is just broken. So I could see a world where WE get down and dirty.
I like the Nocturne pick for Monki here on R5. I feel like if they went with a traditional support and then had this Maokai in the jungle, W would be very lacking in that damage department, so and just like kind of that primary engage department as well. So finding something like Nocturne that can press that go button a little bit easier for them, get into a fight first, I think is going to help them out just a little bit more this time around. But overall, AL have a very easy to execute composition if they're able to just do everything right, not fall too far behind in the early game. I feel like they're in a good spot to finally win their first series of the split.
I'm just worried about this bot lane pair because Senna Maokai is really relaxed and doesn't have a lot of lane prowess. And, I mean, level 2, Sivir and Blitzcrank are allowed to fight in the minion wave. So how many waves does Taeyoon have to give up? How much pressure is Vampire really going to be able to apply early in this game? I just think you may have just had a really bad matchup. And, yeah, you may have helped Monki in the long term. But I think this puts you in a really tough spot as WE.
One more game here to wrap up another day of LPL English. Let's do it, AL versus WE. Get louder and louder as we go throughout this series. Again, only one on the docket for you guys today, as of course the Monsoons have postponed the eventual playing of IG versus BLG, but say that, a little bit of early skirmishing here. WE setting up 4 members on this bottom side to get themselves a little bit of extra income.
But they didn't even put in any wards, so I wonder, mostly probably just a scouting mission to see. They have 2 wards placed from both teams to try to scout out where Monki is early. He should know this is here. He obviously has the indicator there. He's going to start on his Raptors, so gives him some more combat prowess and really wants to be able to cycle these camps, especially the Raptors early on, thanks to the passive on Nocturne. Really good against these smaller camps.
Oh, early hook just missing from Kael. Oh man, almost a pretty interesting situation open up.
What
and
are we
as I
doing,
say
guys?
that, immediately ignite into cleanse here for Kael and Taeyoon. So they did not want those summoner spells seemingly.
Yeah, but like, why are we ever stepping up? Because now, what gets to happen here is Sivir gets to push this in. Sivir is allowed to fight in minion waves, which is usually something you don't really want to do as an AD carry, but because she has these ricochets, it is very easy for her to just stand here, throw those out, and deal a hell of a lot of damage. Kael can throw a hook, and Maokai's free.
Right into that power fist of Vampire, forced to heal as well. That's 2 summoner spells for just the one that AL have burned, and they currently have that level advantage in the push.
This is not going to get any easier for this bottom lane. Can you believe, by the way, Grapes, this is day number 12 of a 40-day stretch. Last split we had like 53 days, 54.
Yeah.
40 now here is pretty insane, but we're already
Now it's
a fourth of the way through the split.
We've added an extra day now with IG
Yeah.
versus BLG. Now going to be taking place on August 28th. So 41 days, but yes, over a quarter of the way done with the regular season, which doesn't necessarily feel like we've gotten there yet, but some of these teams have played 4 series. Overall, you play 14 here in Group Ascend, 10 in Group Nirvana, so we're making our way.
The slog has only started. Tarzan is finishing up on his red buff now. Same thing here with Monki for his blue. I think he wants to try to avoid Pantheon early, especially with the fact that he knows all of his lanes are getting pushed in right now.
Looks like the skirmishing power of the Pantheon is going to force Monki away, at least for now. Comet Spear does connect. This Tarzan playing pretty aggressive here. He could always make the decision to rotate back up to the top crab if he wants.
Why are we doing
we're
this?
We're going to get a big skirmish as Kael going forward with the overdrive to try to just chase Monki away. But it looks like he's able to do that successfully.
Monki, just give it up. Because now you've wasted so much time that instead of just immediately pathing down there, he's not going to even bother to go for this. There was a world where Tarzan could have finished this objective, ran through mid, got the movement speed from Shanks, and contested with Flandre on this topside scuttle. He votes against it, And Flandre will have to recognize that he's going to have to do something here. Oh my god.
Another hook on a Taeyoon, not even able to use his flash in time. As AL's bot lane going to pick up first blood with the help of Kael.
Look at Hope. He's not even hitting this wave anymore. He had Ricochet open, but he wanted to wait. The wave's going to push into them. He's going to freeze. God damn, this feels great if you are AL's bottom lane. And these are the problems of this duo. Why are we playing this? As an 80 carry player, I would be saying, no, we're not playing Senna Maokai. We are not losing the game here. You have a single camp that you're up on right now as the Nocturne, and it just does not matter.
Just all about what the scaling can do, but if you can't get to the point in the game where the scaling happens, gonna be a big problem as Cube accepting his demise as well. 2-0 for AL early in this game 3.
Like, local experience also still goes over to Tarzan, even if he doesn't get any of the kill credit for the gold. Just going from bad to worse, a masterclass in the draft of just being able to get all of your counters on blue side, by the way. This is not supposed to happen. Red side, one of the great things about red side is you're supposed to get counter pick at least in one of these lanes. That is just not the case. Maybe you got it in jungle, but I heavily favor AL right now with the position that they're in, the prospects that the draft gives them from this moment. And I mean, look, Dragons already spawned. You have 2.5 before the grub spawn. If WE are able to continue to contest for some of them, maybe there's an angle for them to play on a side lane with Yorick, but it doesn't get any prettier going into this game.
I mean, you talk about the draft and maybe how it, for WE, they set themselves up to fail or something like that, but you have to remember also, we're in True Fearless, and we have our solo laners. We were talking about Cube Sion being like the only champion he's been able to get a win on. Karis, maybe his pool's a little bit more limited as well. They had to pick that Yorick Aurora on 1-2. Those solo lanes are normally where you get your counter pick on R5, right? And so WE not getting the luxury to do that just maybe because of some of the flexibility issues. And that's going to be something that we're going to have to continue to monitor as we go throughout this season. As now Taeyoon is going to get targeted once again. Has to cleanse away from that initial stun as Tarzan has made his trip down here as well.
Okay. So AL have complete control of the bottom side of the map. Monki, if he can find or squeeze a little bit of experience from one of his lanes, he could actually have access to level 6 and potentially make a pretty game-changing play. But with no flash or cleanse from Taeyoon, this is never an objective that they're going to be able to contest. So Monki instead prioritizing his camps. Let's just get some more farm, get closer to finishing what looks to be a Black Cleaver first. And he has all of his topside camps. Now, right now, taking his Raptors. He's got Krugs as well to work on.
Yeah, I mean, once Monki hits 6, maybe that's where the tides can start to change a little bit. But before that happens, I mean, Dragon's still available. It's going to be Tarzan going for a reset, and bot lane's continuously getting pushed in right now for Team WE. AL having a big advantage down there at this point. They'll be able to rotate first to a play around the grubs if needed. I mean, both Kael and Vampire have TP, but in terms of the marksman, it's going to be Hope that always has that prio.
Maybe after Static Shiv, I think that Taeyoon can contest. He'll get access to more range with more souls as well. This Senna is going to be starved, though. Just irregardless of the matchup, Senna's not able to really skirmish to, attack the enemy AD carry, get some of those souls, try to increase the soul count at least above the average. So 18 at 8 minutes, not fantastic. Let's see if they rotate these lanes, because we haven't gotten that swap that we've been seeing in so many games with the bottom lane moving into the top side. Maybe they try to play Taeyoon after he finishes the Static Shiv to move in for the Dragon. But teleports are starting to come on out right now. Vampire's going to immediately be on this objective. There is no level 6 here for Vampire. They need to get this first grub for him.
Monki has it, though. Already forcing a flash away from Karis is Tarzan. As the grubs have been started up. Hope on the way. In goes the Paranoia. They're going to try to lock down the Shanks. And Annie is just completely taken down. He failed his flash, and that's the first kill of the game for WE. But Hook lands onto Karis. He's going to be taken very low, but not down just yet. He gets himself a double kill, though, as WE are going to try to turn this fight around on the backside of things. It's Cube also forcing Flandre out of the picture, and WE can just go right back to the grubs.
Shanks failing that flash is a huge heartbreaker, and maybe Flandre is dead next.
Oh,
Vampire!
flash over is Vampire with a twisted advance! Another kill goes the way of Team WE as Taeyoon gets involved as well. Hope and Tarzan still alive, still looking to try to skirmish. They're actually going to push away WE in a 2v4 situation and make sure it's not a full sweep of the grubs.
But that's feats of strength, or feats of warfare going over to WE. That'll be also the epic monster slaying, the first one going over to them. They make out huge in that fight, getting out flashes as well as just being able to outplay. And those 2 kills going over to Karis is important as one of the big damage dealers for this team right now on this Aurora. Getting those 2 really kind of ramps up the game for them and gets them back into a spot where they can properly contest after some pretty rough first 8 minutes.
Yeah, I mean, Karis is a beautiful bridge for WE to scale into that late game with the Senna. As we take another look at this fight, I'm surprised that AL were not able to just win this one, but Shanks really just had a really terrible look and just died.
Well, may I point out that WE had all 5 of their members here, and it took 10 seconds into this fight for Hope to finally rotate over.
That's fair.
They had pinged this out as well, by the way. When Senna finished her recall and went back to base, there were pings coming out that they knew that bot lane could be on the roam there. So AL, a little slow to the trigger, get properly punished, and lose out on grubs as well as some more ways to play this early game.
We'll right back to even after what was a very good start for anyone's legend. Hope still ahead in terms of the gold department. Flandre still farming up nicely, but now that mid jungle for Team WE starting to come online. Talk about Karis being somebody who is oftentimes unable to perform at the biggest moments, unable to clutch up. Well, he has a great opportunity to do so here in this game. 2-0-0 on the Aurora. Getting the better edge of Shanks in that last fight, but going to have to continue that performance if WE want to win their first series of the season.
WE are the team of misfit toys. No one wanted to pick up Monki after an abysmal EDG split. Karis and Taeyoon were coming off of failed times in the LCK, and even Vampire as the worst player in the league for 2024. I mean, Cube has always been kind of solid, so that's your one redeeming light, and they have been able to really right those wrongs of previous seasons and make a big splash in ways that a lot of pundits did not think that WE were going to have in them. So taking down the defending champions after their time in Split 3 would be a nice way to maybe put a cherry on top of that. Again, it's very early on in the season. We have a double round robin. I need to see more from WE if we're going to ever really get excited about this team again.
And I think I'm kind of buying into what you were saying during the pre-show, Alk, when we pulled up our panic meters on Team WE. It does feel very much like the same team that we have seen. They just haven't been able to get over the hump in terms of a series win just yet, but this could be an opportunity for them to do so. As in goes into the paranoia for Monki around this first dragon. However, not a lot of damage just yet, but here comes Taeyoon. Tarzan going to eventually drop, and now it's Shanks caught inside of that cage, and Karis goes between worlds and takes Kael down. A double kill for Taeyoon, and WE win yet another team fight.
And they're going to be able to grab the dragon here. WE punishing what looks to be a lackadaisical AL. Game 1 Andes might be the narrative for the split at this point. There is no punishment onto Vampire here, guys. You guys deal no damage. This is just them trying to juice some souls from the Cho'Gath. WE making good on what could have been a very problematic early game. I know I was very guilty of just saying, hey, they have 3 losing lanes. The matchups are not looking good. Tarzan now trying to punish with a Grand Starfall.
Land the stun of the Vampire. Rupture does connect as well. Should be a kill. Flandre has the feast, but Vampire flashes away and makes sure that he is not in range of Flandre's big ol' mouth. Taeyoon gonna get hooked up, but Kael just goes straight to his death underneath the turret. And it's just bad to worse for AL.
Look at Taeyoon. I know it's really small to player cam. He just flashed forward. He didn't even bother to flash over the Blitzcrank hook, and he still gets the kill there. They're having a lot of fun over there. The WE boys, this is the vibes team of all time here in Group Ascend. Take a look right back out of this fight. Look at the positioning and the timing from this. It is just Kael. It is just Tarzan. Cube getting locked up. He's the one that tanks the anti-tippers. Where's the damage? Right? This Nocturne is getting away with highway robbery. And then we're just fighting into a choke. This is very plain to see coming in from AL. I do not know what is going on after their game ones, but they need to clean up their act as AL. All right, that's fair. That is fair. Look, see, this is the back and forth nature. Look, you get to do the slower third. I get to make fun of you because we don't have proper cam setup when we get into the boxes, when we get out of game. Just happens.
Your husband, a big reason as to why that was fixed. So you gotta make sure you're.
Yeah, but he's not producing right now. Kelsey is, okay? So I'm not gonna flame my husband. At least now, I've done that. You know, I'm one to flame. Anybody can catch these hands. These hands are ready to eat for everybody.
Very true. Very true. As the Team WE, 2,500 gold ahead of AL. 15 minutes in, that Rift Herald's about to spawn. As anyone's Legends still have so many questions left to be answered as to what their season is going to look like if they keep dropping series like this. Their third potentially in a row. Flandre try to find some respite onto Karis. Force flash away as in comes in engaged from Monki on the backside of things. And Nature's Grasp gonna root up too. And WE will make their return right back to the Herald. A hook from Kael. It lands on a Taeyoon, and that could be big. A big shutdown finally into the hands of Hope as AL get a little bit more back into this game.
AL are saying, thank you, Taeyoon, for taking the greediest path. They didn't know where Blitzcrank was, but the God Hand delivers. And that means that AL finally grabs some time back into this game. That'll be the Herald going over to them. Flandre forcing a flash out of Karis in trade. Something goes right here for AL. It's as good as it's going to get right now. And that is some of the upside that this Blitzcrank does offer you.
Yeah, I mean, at any moment, being a Blitzcrank, you can just hook a backline carry and make a 5v5, a 4v5, or in that case, you know, just creating a really horrible situation for Taeyoon. Hope getting a little bit of gold back here as he continues to farm up nicely and become, you know, scale into that big threat in this game, but still some work to be done for team, for anyone's Legends, I should say, as they are still behind. However, you know, getting that kill is big, and it's really going to have to be about more of these picks that they find, whether it is through Kael's hooks, through some of these semi-globals that they have with Tarzan on the Grand Starfall. They cannot win a team fight necessarily at this point, so they're going to have to go for something else.
It's hard to make map plays as well, which is so easy for WE when you have Nocturne and you have this Senna. So playing on side lanes is going to be very, very tricky here for AL. They need to play with respect to the Nocturne and with respect to the fact that they're a team that's going to have to either set up first or kind of brute force their way into objectives. Minute before the dragon spawns, only a second dragon, so no need to lose our minds here for either team. But immediately when I look at the minimap, I see better vision control here for Team WE. And with Monki pathing towards the bottom side at this moment, this will be a window where WE can look to clear out some vision, spend some of their gold, and take control. I mean, you have Maokai ult for crying out loud. This is very, very simple in terms of execution.
We get that, maybe another one of those fights where we could see that level of execution in about 20 seconds with this next dragon available. Teleport in the bot lane for Shanks. AL, they remember what happened when they were not early to that fight around the grubs. They want to make sure they are perfectly set up this time around. As they do see Karis on this ward, maybe an opportunity to try to pick him off, but instead AL going to play a little bit safer and wait for this objective to eventually come up. Both top laners have their teleports, but they are not with the teams right now. So we'll see who wants to pull the trigger first. Let's take a look at Cube. He's pushing with the Maiden right now, so maybe it would be okay with just staying up on that top side.
Herald spawns in mid. This should be the mid lane tier 1 if they want it. AL instead, though, they're going to try and move in.
Paranoia in from Monki, but he has not gone in just yet. Just waiting and using the lack of vision to actually take the dragon down. So a smart play here for Team WE, opting out of the fight and instead looking to just get that dragon. And now they can look for another engage as Hope gets chunked down pretty heavily. Tarzan, Grand Star falling forward onto the top side of the map to try to take down Cube, but they're unable to get the Yorick. And now another fight has begun as a hook lands on a Monki, but he's not taken down just yet. Kael has to flash away as the root lands on to Shanks. Nobody on AL has fallen. Nobody on WE has fallen, but the health bars on both sides are low.
The Dark Procession there from Cube, getting the W down that terrain makes it difficult for Flandre to find him, and I loved the setup there from Team WE. Take away the vision. One of the ways you can actually get around Nocturne Ultimate, thankfully for these players on LAN, is you can just look at your teammate's screen, but especially for Kael, he can only really look at Hope's screen, and Hope can't really do all that much right there in that situation, so dissuades the Blitzcrank from being able to land a hook and maybe find that pick that opens up a spot for AL. I like the flexibility that they showed trying to go for Cube. That was some summoner spells as well at the back end of that fight from Monki and from this Yorick, but now 2 dragons here for Team WE, and they still have all of these ultimates that are very low cooldown between worlds, and Monki even having the ultimate already back up here means any pick around this Otacon on the bottom side might spell doom for either one of these teams.
I love this look that we're seeing from WE. That's more on the patient side, right? You're seeing Monki on the Skarner in game number 1 just kind of farm up. Now on the Nocturne, another champion that really needs level 6, and not just immediately flipping. I feel like past iterations of Team WE, Monki would have pressed that R button and immediately tried to dive onto Hope or something. Not doing that this time around, and so far it's been paying off as they have the 2 dragon lead, they have the feats of strength, they have about a 1,500 gold lead here with the scaling Senna. But still a lot left to be done. Otacon has just spawned. You already saw Kael looking very aggressive on these hooks with the Blitzcrank as he can really make or break one of these fights. Karis spotting out that ward that could have been pretty dangerous.
It's so tough right now for AL because they need to walk as essentially like 2 or 3 members. They're giving up waves right now to make sure that this is happening. And that is why we kind of start to see a lead open up. Kael with the Hex Flash tries to find that pick. Doesn't find anybody from Team WE. But because they're dropping waves, Karis is opening up a massive 1,500 gold lead for himself. And Hope has to use the ultimate to be able to bounce in between these waves and match Taeyoon on the map.
So right now it's AL a bit more on the defensive. That teleport only in from Kael. Not really going to be able to clear this wave out. Shanks does make his way down here to do just that. As Team WE looks like they're playing the map well after sustaining a little bit of early pressure. They are now the ones in the driver's seat. Nearly up 2,000 gold. They can continue to play around these objectives. And AL really on the back foot and not super decisive in terms of finding a play. As WE are going to actually start up the Otacon.
All right. There are teleports for both of our top laners. I think it is really risky for WE to try to risk this when there are summoner spellbooks in the game and there is a Cho'Gath on the enemy team right now. They're going to move off, get a little bit of vision, pull it down towards the bottom side of the map. Pantheon can ult for this play.
Yorick has his as well, but Cube, I think, is comfortable pushing. They could try to do the same strategy again, where Monki just presses the R button and turns off the lights, but the Otacon is down to 6,000 HP, and they've already had to kite away from it. Now the teleport comes in, and the full-on fight will start. A huge between worlds, but he gets feasted,
Monki's dead.
And AL get 2 kills right back, but it's matched by WE. Cube is still strong, and Taeyoon is on the back line. The Otacon gets secured by Tarzan, but Team WE should be able to win the team fight. A triple kill already for Cube on the Yorick, and Flandre has to flash away.
That might have been the Otacon. That's gold. That's some experience going over to AL with all of those petals. But more stacks here for Taeyoon. A turret as well here for WE. Problematic stuff here now happening around the map. A lot of gold in their back pockets to spend. I just don't think it was worth it. And I like that WE were willing to play bodyguard around this. You had noted this right before. Same thing with the Dragon. Get AL to walk into this pit. And I love all of this setup, but it's all onto Karis. The Taeyoon ult comes out a little too late, but look at Cube here. With all of this setup, he gets to walk right into this team and rip them apart. I just don't know if the Otacon is worth it here, Graves. I think this is still really problematic here for anyone's legend. And you still will have to deal with the Dragon that is now spawning, and you have no flashes on your solo laners compared to your opponents.
Big thing is that a lot of gold went onto Hope. He now has, 2.5 full items at this point, and they want to make sure they can take this Dragon. They don't want to give Soul Point over to Team WE just yet. The Team WE, as you mentioned, also got a lot off of that play. Cube, now very powerful here on this Yorick, is grouping with his team right now, so not currently on a side lane, as AL are controlling the mid wave with Hope and his wave clear. And that'll give his team some chances to clear out some vision on this river and maybe even start the dragon up.
All right, no ultimate here for Cube now. Maiden has been taken down. It is easy for WE to get back into the pit, however. A single Scryer's Bloom can be spotted out. They have a lot of mobility between Karis and Monki. They're going to avoid it. It's going to be a missing soul point here for WE. A single ward in the pit, not seen. Senna ult goes out.
Tibbers on top. Jungler for WE down. But the dragon has been peeled away from AL. They don't want the Drake. They want the fight as well. Two-man rupture in for Flandre. And Karis is shut down. It's a triple kill for Hope. And right back to the dragon they go.
Are they going to be able to pick up this Baron 15 seconds before the big purple worm? WE, misstep going into that river. I don't know, Grapes. Do we feel like this is going to be the kind of decision that brings AL back in? Because this is giving me vibes of game one, kind of.
Yeah, where WE got off to a good start, then AL were able to kind of just win 3 full team fights in a row and eventually close out that game. Obviously ended maybe a little bit quicker than this one has, or has the potential to, as AL do not immediately start the Baron up on spawn. They take the tier 1 mid turret instead, and I would say that's a good call. Starts off with Kael with this hook on a Monki.
The ultimate from Senna just to get vision onto the dragon, I can respect the play, but after that there's just no ability for them to engage the spell shield. And then this, Karis walks back into it. I don't know if it was auto-pathing, you know, trying to get around the wall. It put him in range of that rupture. That should have never landed onto Karis, even with him having flash. So big mistake coming in from the solo laners of WE, and Monki getting punished for not having that spell shield up.
And maybe he thought he had flash, but got silenced by Flandre's W. So that was not in the cards. Either way, a bad click, a bad play, as Karis got caught out for Team WE once again. As another player that, again, we were hoping to see deliver in these big moments, Salk, has had a couple of nice fights so far in the Aurora, but has not found the game-clinching one just yet, and that's the most important thing.
And so looking at some of these objectives and how they're playing the map, it is tough right now for WE. We had given them some advantage in being able to play side lane with having so much mobility and having 2 global ultimates, but same thing can be said here for these longer lanes. You can see right now Pantheon on the bottom side. This seems to be a quick play for AL. Just here to grab themselves the Maiden. This will allow for WE to move into this topside jungle, get down vision, and maybe even escort their mage out of this topside here for Karis. He's going to get a wave under this turret. Maybe he can get a little bit more damage, but for the most part, it is all about control of the space.
Yeah, and even if your Team WE might feel a little discouraged after losing that last fight, after not being able to claim that soul point, but you're still in a very good position, right? You have 80 stacks right now on Taeyoon Senna. You have Karis still in a really good spot, but Cube's still going to be able to do a lot of damage. There's still hope here for Team WE in a pretty even game state, so cannot, feel like this is just a lost cause at this point, even though you are playing up against the defending champions of the LPL. Have to keep the hopes up. Karis doing a little bit of poke damage onto Tarzan. The Baron dance now has begun.
Mid!
Come out. They're looking towards the mid lane. A fear lands onto Hope. He's going to get taken down by Taeyoon.
I don't know if there's going to be more. There's Kael with a hook, but Hope, he uses his barrier there. We didn't get to see too much of the start, just too far up on mid-wave. The great punish there from Monki. They do not have the Nature's Grasp anymore. I think this is just going to be the mid lane tier 1 and a little bit more gold so they can potentially get to that third item. Taeyoon getting very close to an Infinity Edge.
Monki's pinging it. It looks like WE might want to try to flip things here. It looks like he's backing away instead. Has that Paranoia not on cooldown just yet. It's still about halfway towards completion. That's why they are holding off on starting off this Baron, even though the 80 carry for AL has been down. Instead, claiming that mid turret and just getting that small advantage.
A little bit of gold and that barrier, very nice, especially that having that summoner spell taken away means that some of the ability for Hope to step forward or not feel as pressured. Yeah, he's way too far up on midway. The rest of his team isn't there. He pops the barrier midway through. I think he just has to get the flash out if he doesn't want to get hit by that tether. is a pretty good punish, and now AL looking to start this up. They have the Sivir, and they have Smite from Kael alongside this Feast. This should be the Baron going over to AL.
Unless Monki can do something magical here. He is in the mid lane. He pops the Paranoia. They're looking to go in. Look at Karis taking that Hex Gate over. They immediately go into Shanks with the flash away as AL have peeled away from the Baron for now. Nature's Grass going to root up 3 members of anyone's Legend, but they're not able to find anything more. Right now, the Maiden, the focus, it should be taken down. That is a big portion of Cube's kit off the menu for the next little bit.
30 seconds off of Mikhail's as well. Kael used it there to try to cleanse Flandre. Any more damage and WE maybe find a kill, but instead it's going to be mid-priority. And what I'm looking at right now, Graves, is that Dragon spawning in 15. They can grab this turret, move into the bottom side of the map, and look to put themselves on that soul point that was denied 5 minutes ago.
WE able to take the advantage that they gained off of just forcing some resets on AL's side to claim that mid-tier 2 turret, and now can turn their sights, as you say, all to that 3rd Dragon. Now AL should feel comfortable taking this Baron in terms of a trade because it is not the soul collected for WE if they do pick this one
but
up.
They need to do this now.
Able
Like,
to
look at
send
this.
the Dragon solo, but AL still just hovering around the river, and they have to start this objective up if they want to try to make it a trade. Monkey's going to be able to get here in time, absolutely, especially with the Paranoia.
Yeah, he has his ultimate coming up thanks to having the experimental Hex plate and engage now.
Lands onto Cube. Will they be able to center him down just yet? Not now, as he has been able to flash away. Dragon's been secured. Vampire flashes away from the Rupture, but now AL want the fight. Paranoia was used, but not to close a gap, just to try to toggle with some vision. As Monki
no!
forward. He gets caught out by the hook of Kael, and Shanks will take him down. WE's jungler is dead, and AL should claim this Baron.
This should have been a perfect line of play for WE if they just were able to move back and take your conservative lines there, but taking a play right as they have control of this side of the map, a massive mistake coming in from Monki. The team leader stepping in the wrong position gives AL position back in this game. It's still a Mountain Soul or Dragon Soul point here on the cards for WE, but a Baron will help smooth out the next 3 minutes of this game for them, and hopefully get them back into this game where they've had so many worries as AL.
Now there's still some work to be done, as they just barely have passed W in terms of the goal. The Baron, what they do off the Baron power play is going to be important. Monkey just thinks he's safe, but absolutely
it's a
not.
single minion giving him vision. Tarzan just flashes. I love this. This is great. He gets completely CC'd. Even with the amount of tenacity he has from upgraded Merc Tread boots and the Sterix gauge. Just a plain old punish and a good look there from AL's jungle.
He thought that because there's a pink ward there, there'd be no vision, but the minions told anyone's Legend that, you know, Monkey was just going to be there. And Tarzan flashed over, got vision of Monkey, and then immediately the follow-up all landed on top of him with that hook from Kael, who's now looking aggressively once more. Monkey going to be able to spell shield that one, but the Baron pushes on, and AL want to try to control multiple lanes at the same time.
I like the idea of the combo there from Kael. Use the silence, then try to find the hook.
Starfall in onto Cube. He should just get feasted. Yes, Flandre picking up that kill instantly. Monkey getting taken very low as well. Oh, takes him down with a ricochet. And Taeyoon has to flash away. Tier 2 turret still up and available. Dawning Shadow over the top. And Karis gets stunned. Karis gets shut down. And that might be it. Anyone's Legends, they go 2 for 1. And they go on to the tier 3 right now.
No more Tibbers. It's a teleport out from Shanks. Is this the end of the game? A minute left with these Baron buffs. A massive mistake. We're going to have to go back to the 3rd Dragon of the game where AL were able to steal that away, and too many mistakes from WE.
It's going to have to be Taeyoon and Vampire, but the wave just might be too much. It's still 4 members strong for your defending champions. Taeyoon not having the damage just yet. Flandre munches down Vampire once more, and the Summer Swoon has come to a conclusion. Anyone's Legend are going to be able to pick up their first win of Split 3.
And it was through the jaws of defeat, a weird early game yet again here, where WE, they get control of the early game, they get all of the early buffs. Still, not a clean look for them. I would have accepted a 2-1 from AL that looked more like game number 1. But really tough look there in multiple spots from our defending champs, from our MSI representatives. And WE a heartbreaking 0-4 start to this season.
You know, if you're AL, you can talk about the problems that you had in this series, the early games kind of falling apart, how the mid-game team fights and how WE were able to take advantage of you there, specifically in that Game 3. But at the end of the day, you can exhale because you got a win on the board. Sometimes the first win is the hardest to get. We saw that with WE and FPX in Group Ascend last split, where as soon as they finally broke that seal, they were able to get on a roll. AL did not want to be in that position, and it would have gotten loud if they had dropped that third series in a row against a team that they are expected to beat. So at least Anyone's Legend able to pick up this series win, and now they can build on that momentum to try and continue their push back up to the top of the standings.
I think AL are definitely going to have to really look back at this series and think about ways that they can kind of dissect a lot of their problems. We have seen multiple times now where there's just not enough early game from this squad. They don't like to skirmish very often. That is, I think, one of the reasons why they tend to lose versus top esports in regular season. Is top esports are very, very in your face. That's why BLG sometimes, or even more recently, got the better of them. Is Bin and Knight were willing to be a lot more aggressive. And the back end of this series, I know I was praising a lot for Shanks for what he's able to do. I think he has some very clear misgivings for the back end of these sets, and I need to see him improve, especially as a player who had a breakout performance at MSI this year.
Yeah, and I feel like really stepped into his own right as a star. You know, it was kind of waiting for him to get there for a couple of splits, and whether it was on that AL team last year that made it to top 8, or this year with some of their revamped roster, Shanks, one of the more, inconsistent players, one of the newer players on this team. But, at MSI had that great performance. We still need to see him try to continue to make plays. I feel like him and Cream are in similar positions where they are in their early stages on really top-level contenders, and sometimes they look like some of the best mid laners in the world, and other times they are able to, kind of falter and look a little bit more vulnerable. But it's taking that next step that is the most important for both of those guys. And, talking about Shanks, had some good plays, especially towards the end.
Shanks, in particular, I think just had a much better MSI debut than Cream. So
that's fair. That's true.
It's good to see that we're still getting wins from AL. Like you said, it would have gotten loud if they would have started off the season 0-3. But I don't know. Something about this team more than likely is going to just be the fact that they might just be experiencing burnout, right? Having to play so many games in a row, having really no break in between the start of Split 2 and now with the internationals that they were able to go to. So kind of sucks that we're seeing them, but this is about where we expect this team. They should be able to win against a team like WE. And going forward, they're going to be playing up against a JDG that looks very, very weak right now. So hopefully that series is a little cleaner. I think, unironically, probably a much tougher time versus WE than JDG in my mind. And then after that, it is top esports, IG. The state that they're in right now, yeah, you're going to have to definitely level up in between now and then.
Yeah, thankfully for them, a little bit of time. But again, as you mentioned, going into week 4 and week 5 and week 6, 3 series a week here for AL. Their constant stream of gameplay continues here as we get a look at the highlights of this game number 3. Reminder to everybody that this is our last series of the day. I know we're ending a little bit earlier than normally you might expect here on LPL English, but that is just what happens, of course. There are some big major weather concerns over in Shanghai that resulted in the matchup between Invictus Gaming and BLG to be postponed over to August 28th, which is now an extra day on top of the end of our regular season. But going back here to this series, if you are AL, feeling confident, WE, another close loss, and I feel like we're seeing more and more of an identity for this team, but it's not all there just yet.
Karis had one of his better days. I will give him credit for that. Cube had some moments in this series where he looked better than Flandre. A lot of them just playing Scion, so you can kind of take away from that what you will. Is this the flash one, or he just flashes straight into the...
Yeah.
No, he flashes to... Yep. Thank you to my observers. Thank you for my observers showing that, even if Kael still gets taken down. Yes, I feel like this is just the same WE. I said at the beginning of the series, I'll say it now, same shift, different fries. Like, this is the same WE that you saw in Split 2.
Same chef, different. Wait.
Same shift, you know, like they're shift workers. Like we're
Okay.
clocking in for another
Yeah.
bag. Yeah, this is again, you I think you really highlighted at the end of the series though. A single win could unlock that for them. So if they could get a win in their next couple of series, maybe that's the run that they need to be able to take down a team like JDG, even the FPXs that are against them in the standings. But I'm still really hard pressed for the mistakes that we saw in this game to really have them above any other team in this group, aside maybe FPX.
Yeah, I mean, to be fair, I feel like a lot of these teams kind of have their own flaws and stuff. Even AL, obviously, like we're talking about,
Sure.
they have things that they need to iron out as well. So on any given day, it feels like WE could be able to take advantage of them, like we saw in split number 2. But I think it's becoming more and more evident that even though this team did finish top 4 due to their playoff run, we're not expecting them to necessarily just be the favorites to get back to that stage. They're gonna have to prove it again with more upsets. I'm not gonna lie, got a little hairy at the end of that one. I was worried I was gonna have a moment like the IG series against JDG, but you know, actually ends up in our favor this time around. We're gonna wait for our player of the game. A lot of different options here. Kael sticks out with the Blitzcrank, finding that pretty crucial flash.
Hope. Another consistent performance from Hope, man. I'm glad that he is playing at the level he is, because for so many years he was stuck on some pretty bad rosters, and Hope playing so well on this team proves to me that AD Carry is carried by their team. I mean, Kelsey Moser, our producer, is one of the biggest Elk haters, and she was hating on this guy while this guy was going to World Finals, okay? Thinking he was getting carried. So we got to see it here. I think Hope literally the entire time is like, okay, well, I'm playing Sivir. I'm waiting for my team. Even in the game before this, right? Hope had a pretty decent time. It's going to be Flandre here earning himself the MVP. The back end, I think the last like 4 minutes of that game, he was definitely Pog status.
Yeah, he had some nice team fights. You know, finding some big knockups with the Rupture, feasting Cube in that initial fight, that last fight to make it a numbers advantage early. That was a big pick onto Karis right there as well. So respect to Flandre, as you know, we're hoping to see more out of him as we continue to go throughout this season as well. But that's going to do it for our day here on LPL English. Before we head out, let's take one last look at the updated standings. It was only one series, but we could just see AL in the win column now at the very least, and you know, feel happy about that because they actually have played less games, and a lot of their games have been 2-1s. They actually jump up to 5th after that, so congratulations to them. Of course, still very early on into the season. And speaking of Team WE, they're going to go up against Top tomorrow, same time, 5 a.m. Eastern, 2 a.m. Pacific. So make sure you stay tuned here for that one as well. Followed up after that by BLG going up against Weibo. Again, we'll keep you guys updated about any of the issues involving the monsoons over in Shanghai, and if that will continue to provide, or you know, any troubles with the scheduling. But for now, we are hearing that these games will be scheduled and will be played tomorrow.
Yep. So kind of sucks we don't get 2 days in a row. Technically, BLG got a day off, but hopefully everybody is safe over in Shanghai. And for all the other places in the world that are currently experiencing, whether it's a tsunami or some pretty insane waves going on right now. So other than that, we do have to give one final thanks to the coffee supporters. Thank you so much to our elite supporters in Aaron Soup, Mung, Forest Without, and owners of Silmaril. Their pledged financial contributions help level up the broadcast and give back to the cast and crew who strive to give you an LPL English product every single night. We did it, Grapes. We finished a single best of 3.
I know, this is
the
record. This is maybe the record for the earliest sign-off that we've had on LPL English, at least in a little while. I know we had some like best of 1 days that maybe mixed that up and everything like that. But hey, make sure you guys get some extra rest, because you're not going to get a lot of it if you continue to watch LPL every single day, because the action does not stop. We'll be right back here tomorrow again for our 2 series, hopefully. But once again, final score here, Anyone's Legend picking up their first win of LPL Split 3, 2-1 over Team WE. On behalf of our producer, Kelsey Moser, Color Coster, Alk Battery, my name is Grapes. Thank you so much for tuning in to LPL English, and we'll see you all tomorrow for more